So I felt after this panel show, this might be a good chance to make my feelings a little more clear. Now, the problem with the panel show formula is you're not sure when you can talk. It ends up with two people shouting at each other. At points, it can get quite emotional. Like, one of the things which really did make me want to shout in someone's face was when someone compared facial abuse to Holocaust movies, and that just makes me want to scream. If facial abuse was actually any good, you'd watch it after you come. I'm just saying, like, that sort of comparison, and the point I'm very much making when I read out these descriptions is that this stuff is generally quite abusive. Like, and that was really my main concern in a lot of ways, that it's available on what I would call the most mainstream porn sites, and it's obviously abusive, and it's obviously probably targeting, you know, a lot of young women who really are way too young to be making decisions like this, which is why I pitched the 25 and over rule as my suggestion for not necessarily a silver bullet, but something that would improve the status of the porn industry in general. I also want to bring up child pornography and say my 25 and over rule was also partly to say, hey, we can decrease this a lot that way. Because what keeps coming up is people keep yelling about child pornography, and I'm like, how do you know if you've watched child pornography? You fucking don't, because you could not tell the difference between an 18-year-old and a 40-year-old. I cannot. I mean, really, it's pretty hard to tell. I mean, holy shit, I sometimes get carded, and I'm in my early 30s. It's kind of insane. But the point was just that the porn industry's kind of fairly abusive track record also means that there's a lot of hiding in plain sight, I feel. Like, can you tell if something is, once again, really all that consensual or not? Well, so much of this stuff is quite abusive by its nature that the question of how much actual real consent is going on is kind of all over the place. And when I say consent, okay, I made my point pretty much that I don't actually care that much about consent. I think some of this stuff just should not be easily available, because I don't care if they've signed the wager and said it's okay, you can bruise me up, you can make me vomit, you can piss in my eye, I don't give a fuck, I want my 400 quid. Which, yes, is actually an amount I've seen for paid for some of this stuff. Oh, I've been reading into it, and by all accounts, the fact that I was reading up on the whole facial abuse crew, who I believe are also involved in ghetto gaggers, black on black crime, black payback, Latino abuse. So a fair amount of fairly racialised stuff. We didn't really get into that or transphobia that much, did we? It's interesting because I was reading into it, and it's like there's a whole load of stuff about how abusive they are to like their former actresses and stuff like that, like threatening to send stuff to people they know, like weird stuff like setting up fake sites, a lot of stuff where, okay, they're kind of skirting the legal grey area. And what was interesting is one of their actors turned out to be a neo-Nazi and was arrested for planning a mass shooting along with several army guys, I believe, military guys, I should say. I don't know what part of the US military they were part of. And it just makes me kind of go, well, yeah, these are the type of men who would actually, you know, like to do this stuff on the regular. It's so interesting. Like, I'm sure there are a few actresses who come back, and maybe there are some who generally enjoy when they, when they limp home bruised up and beaten, but with internal bleeding. But I just find it very dubious. That was kind of my stance, really. I'm not coming at it as we need to make porn illegal, because if you've seen the debate, you know I'm not really that prudish. It's more of okay, I just find this industry deeply unpleasant, and I do think having less access to it, to the more extreme stuff, would generally be good. So that was my reason for my 25 and over pitch. there's a ton more stuff to discuss, like how much does it impact people. To me, I don't think watching a ton of really extreme stuff impacted me that much, because, you know, I was exposed to like that, you know, the most extreme pornography and like dead bodies, people dying from like a very young age, way before I was capable of actually getting off to, you know, any of it. For the record, I don't get off to any dead bodies. That was just a point I was making. But the thing is, that's me. I consider myself a fairly intelligent individual who can say, okay, yeah, this is clearly, you know, something's clearly going on here. This isn't how you should usually behave. But I fundamentally can't use myself and say, well, because I don't think I was affected that badly, it's fine. I just don't believe in that. I think a lot of people are not that smart. I've known people who certainly weren't. When it comes to pornography and other things, and yeah, I don't know, there's some stuff which comes up which just makes me think, you know what, this industry is giving people ideas and it would be better if they didn't have them.